Hey everyone, I am here with Brad, and we're going to be talking some Nier Replicant. I've been able to put about 5 hours into it, and Brad, you also enjoyed the original Nier, so I thought you'd be a perfect person to talk to. And I think to start off, the most obvious thing, but I think particularly in the case of Nier, it's good to emphasize, like, I'm playing, it's a PS4 game, but I'm playing it on my PS5, and it in comparison to the original Nier, it runs and looks so much better.
Yeah, of course.
Right, because that's definitely a big hang-up of the original game, and so seeing it look better, but I think more importantly, just moving around and combat and everything feeling much smoother than it did in the original game goes a long way.
Definitely. Yeah, because the original Nier is, like, not super high budget, you know?
Right.
It's like, yeah, it's Square, but it always felt lower budget.
Yeah, and that's, the thing is like, I don't think it looks, like, staggering, right? Like, I don't think this is some technical showpiece or anything like that. Like, it's still relatively modest in terms of visuals, but in comparison to the original game, I think it is definitely a step up. I'm very curious how people who have never played Nier, how they respond to it. And we'll get into that. But the other obvious thing, but it bears repeating, is that this music is just incredible, and it adds so much to the vibe of the game. You know, whether you're exploring a dungeon or whether you're just in your village or anything like that. I mean, this is truly, like, just hearing it again, it's so relaxing, and it does so much to convey kind of the otherworldly, like, not quite right vibe of this place.
Yeah, definitely. I have a question. So this is like the Japanese character that they got, right?
Yep.
You are the main character?
Well, so yeah, we never got this version of the original Nier. The version that we got was Nier Gestalt, where you play as Papa Nier. So that's actually, I'm really happy you brought this up, Brad, because this is totally worth mentioning. You play as the brother, which I've never experienced before because we didn't get that version. Yeah. And it's a different vibe for sure, because, you know, a father taking care of his daughter is just a little bit different than, like, a brother taking care of his sister, and I just feel like Brother Nier is, you know, he's a good-hearted character, and he's trying to help out the villagers and stuff, but I just feel like the way that he responds to certain situations, it's interesting because it's like a totally different read, you know? Like, there's almost like some naivety to him, I think.
Do you prefer the Brother Nier?
I don't know. I don't dislike it, but there was kind of like something uniquely charming, I think, about the father. Like, he's just kind of this, like, big ugly oaf that I kind of like. So I don't know if I prefer Brother Nier or not.
Got it.
Probably Papa Nier.
Yeah. So you brought up the combat earlier. Did they rework a lot of it?
Yeah. I haven't...
that was one of my complaints about the original game, is I thought the combat was just kind of boring, I guess, almost. It was just okay, you know?
Yeah, so to address that criticism, Brad, I was reading up on it, and I watched some footage of the original game again. I didn't actually go back and put my original copy of the game in to get a feel, and so I'm going off of memory and what I was watching on videos, but it definitely feels a lot smoother, and I believe they said that they were going to rework the combat. Great. And it feels, I guess the easiest way to say it is it feels snappier, and so I just felt like, you know, evading around enemies, like, because when you're in a combo and you hit evade, you can whip around them. It just felt like everything I was doing was flowing together really well. Now, with all of that said, the combat is still pretty simple. You know, for the most part, you know, you're mashing away at enemies.
I'm not expecting, like, even automata levels or anything like that in terms of combat, but that's nice thing. They just made it a little tighter.
Yeah, I think that definitely comes across, but it's not why you're here. But the combat, I think, is serviceable, is how I would describe it. The other thing that I kind of want to talk about is I want to talk about what it's going to be like for new players or players that have only played Automata, because it's a slow game. I'm like I said, I'm about 5 hours in, and especially if you're the type of person that likes doing all of the side quests, I mean, it's a lot of go here, gather this thing. There's quests where it's like, okay, you have to deliver this item, but you can't get hit. That kind of thing. And so it's very much a slow burn, but I think your patience is rewarded, certainly. So I'm curious to see how people, maybe after loving Automata, how they respond to this.
I mean, it's great. I mean, I'm really happy they're doing this. I feel like, Nier 1, like, I played that game super late. And I feel like a lot of people didn't even play, but with the success of Automata, it seems like they're kind of giving it a second chance, which is nice.
Yeah, and it's also, like, in a uniquely good position for me, because when I originally played Nier, I was only able to get through the first ending. I didn't go through and do all the other endings. And so now it's like a good excuse to go and do all of those other endings, despite enjoying my first playthrough so much. And so it's like, oh, awesome. This is a perfect reason to revisit. Yeah. But with all that said, I think this is an extremely special game. That it sort of reminds me of Deadly Premonition, where I think you do have to be patient with it. This is not like a highly polished AAA game, but it has like kind of this unique charm to it that I think can be applied to Automata. But just like, doing a side quest, getting a boar tusk, riding around on a boar, drifting around on a boar, like it's just kind of dumb and fun. And I think there are a lot of little moments like that. I think Kaine's a really cool character as well, and these are people that like you enjoy getting to know, and kind of peeling back the mystery.
You're talking about like the tone. It's goofy, but like some of the story in this stuff is like super intense and super heavy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is, and I think it's one of those games where you want to know as little as possible going into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only other thing that I had as I was revisiting this game is like going through a couple of dungeons, and it's funny because Nier, I feel like, will hit you with a moment where you're like, wow, that's really striking. Like you go into the Lost Shrine and there's this giant tree going through the center of it, and like the sunlight streaming through, and you're like, wow, like sometimes like the artistic direction of this game is really somber and beautiful, but then like as I'm actually going through the rooms, it's like, okay, here's a room with some boxes and some enemies, and you're gonna go into another room with some boxes and some enemies, and it's like, this feels very simple and gamey in a way that like isn't super impressive. Or doing the junk heap dungeon, it's like very square connected to a rectangle connected to a square, so it's the design of some of the areas isn't always the most impressive, and so it's flawed. It's certainly flawed, but I think there's something worth digging through regardless.
Yeah, I think so too. Like you said, it's a slow start, but I think if you stick with it, there's a lot to love with this game. Despite its many rough edges, I still look fondly back at that game.
Yeah, and it's also nice because it's like, man, I feel like I've forgotten a lot of what happened as well. So
yeah, it's been a while.
It'll be good to refresh my memory. But I'm excited to talk with you more, Brad, about it.
Yeah, I'm excited to play it.
I'm sure we'll talk about it on Frame Trap. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.